Buckeye fans, welcome back to another episode of Scarlet and Great here on the Chat Sports Network. The dynamic duo back together again. I love it that we finally gotten to do this a couple times. Johnny Bullet, Florida Corey. Real quick, guys, we're going to get into a couple huge topics. We want to talk about, have we established who running back number one is, or do we still have two number ones? You can't have two number ones, as they say in Step Brothers. That makes 11. How good is Will Howard, and how far can he take this Buckeye team? Can he hang a banner? Last but not least, is the Jack back? The Jack position, is it back? Is Jack Sawyer back? Is Jack the Jack again? However you want to shout it out, let's just put it there. Real quick, like this video, if you love the shutout, first Buckeye shutout since September 7th, Florida Corey, we were there watching that game together. First Buckeye shutout. It feels like one of two, and it's been a while since we've. Last time, I wonder if it's 2019 we had multiple shutouts, if even then. Shutouts are hard to come by when you play the second string and stuff. But Corey, another funeral. It was Purdue's funeral. Another funeral at Columbus, Ohio Stadium. You know, Corey, the fans just don't care at this point. I don't know why they would. They pay an arm and a leg for these tickets. It sounds like the cat's out of the bag, though, that Indiana's coming to town at noon again in a couple weeks. Like, they let that. You know, I was telling Anthony, our friend in the group chat, you know what I said? I said, it's sad that I want that game to be in Bloomington, Indiana for a better atmosphere. Because you know, all 12 of the Indiana football fans are going to be bringing all of the enthusiasm, all 12 of them. Have you ever met one? Have you ever met an Indiana football fan?
One. No, never met one.
No. There's a right on Lake Erie, right on Lake Road up here in a nice, well-to-do suburb of Cleveland. There's an Indiana Hoosiers banner at one of these gigantic houses, and I'm like, it's one of these things.
I bet that's brand new too.
Yeah, I'm like, oh yeah, you brought it out. You brought it out now because you.
Oh no, he bought it recently. He had no reason to even have it.
Yeah, he did. Well, you know what I was thinking, Corey. I feel like whatever happens to them the rest of the season, they've ceilinged for their program twice in the last 5 years under two different coaches. Good for them, I guess. You know, I'm not worried about what they do, so good for them. You know what I mean? I just think that's kind of that. I'm like, is that a sign of? Is there something that can be taken from that? Right now, talking about who's not at the top of their game is Purdue. This is down even for Purdue standards. I mean, they're really bad. I can't remember them. You know, Purdue's also a team that seems to play us a little tougher than. I don't know, their talent level would suggest. Is that probably fair? Like, usually the game is closer than it should be.
Some years, but there's been, I think, more years in recent history where we've just bludgeoned them. But even the Kyle McCord-led team last year beat them pretty good. So, and we actually did not play a really great game in that game either. So, I remember it was wet and it was rainy, and so receivers were dropping passes and things like that.
Yeah.
But,
I think back to the was it 2020 we played them? It was a 2021, a struggling defense year where we let them back in the game late. And then obviously, you know, you have the
breaking news, Johnny, Miami lost.
Oh, I'm so heartbroken about it. Now everybody's got a blemish. Cammy couldn't get it done. Cam Ward, that's the second Cammy to fail this week. That's we were joking earlier. Second Cammy to fail this week. How did well, it may not have been his fault. Corey, Purdue's really bad. They've only won one game this year, and that's against Indiana State, 49-0. They didn't have the Larry Bird Indiana State Sycamore magic this time. This is I don't know, Corey. They might be worse than the MAC teams we've played. This is the most complete. I guess one-sided games.
I think Marshall could beat them. I think Marshall could beat them with their quarterback healthy.
Yeah. But Corey, this was another case. You put how's the way you put it? The Buckeyes were playing with their food.
Yeah, I was kind of playing with their food in this game. I think the Buckeyes clearly knew that they were far, far, far superior, and we're like, well, we're going to test some things. We're going to let some guys play early on that don't usually play until mop-up duty. I mean, we were seeing like second and third teamers in their second quarter, not even second quarter, second drive. And it was on defense, and I was like, man, that guy, why is he? I mean, Edric Houston played a lot this game, even got a massive penalty, but So yeah, I think Ryan Day just the coaching staff looked at the tape, said, yeah, we can run a scrimmage and smoke these guys. So let's just figure out how we can utilize the time in this game for the youth on the team, which I don't blame them. It's not as fun for the fans sometimes, but it's still, you can't blame them.
Yeah, they had to look and go for a team that 10 weeks or whatever in 12 now with all the buys into the season to play around like that. A conference opponent, they must have sensed this team is really bad to do that, because coaches never want to communicate to players like, hey, we're overlooking these guys, but when you're playing young guys, you're putting experimental looks in. Offensively, I thought they were a little clunky at the beginning of the game, but I think they were like, hey, Chip Kelly's like, hey, let's see if we're any good at screen passes now that the team we're playing sucks. No, we still can't block them. Never mind, let's go back to our regular scheduled offensive programming. So me of all people are giving the Buckeyes a little bit of a pass on how clunky they played on offense in the first half, because I feel like it was just a big – now, I'm not giving them a pass that they can't run simple concepts, certain ones against bad teams. Like, I think you need those wrinkles when you play top 5 competitions, but that's kind of where we're stuck at. So defensively, like you said, a lot more rotation. You saw 3 down linemen. You saw the jack position. We're going to get into that in a little bit. Corey, I want to get your opinion on something. Have we established at least who the running back number 1 on this team is? Can we draw that conclusion yet?
I think it's just hot hand. It's going to be hot hand for the rest of the year. They started out with Judkins, and Judkins didn't have a great game. He did like 11 carries for 32 yards, I believe it was. But, Judkins has also had much better games than Trey's had in the past. I just wonder if what I think we're seeing, though, remember Trey was hurt for the first half of last year. He comes on the second half, and he's rested, and he's looking really good. I think our coaches noticed that wrinkle, and they have not really given – I mean, Trey today, what did he have? He only had 6 carries, but for 85 yards. Yeah, so
3 receptions for 43 yards.
That's true. You're right. And so I look at it and say, I think Trey is the second half of a season guy when you rest him well the first half of the season. We kind of leaned on Judkins first half of the season. Maybe they're kind of switching the roles a little bit to manage the manage the reps they're getting. Because you can't ride just one running back, especially in the Big Ten. So they've done a good job making sure that, they get both guys adequate carries, and neither one of them have gone, I think, even to 20 carries this season yet.
I don't think so.
So I like what they're doing, and Trey is showing that burst, and and like he did last year, the second half of the year, he just was like, oh my gosh, Trey is a new man. What is this? Oh, it's because he didn't play for 6 games. So that's the way I'm looking at it. Is I think Trey just hitting that second wind he has.
My take's a little different. I think Trey, you're exactly right. I don't know if people realize, but he was getting bell cow carries the second half of the season, but he was so good. And I was just kind of writing him off as not a complete back, but I think it really was that he had other seasons where he didn't play that much. As a matter of fact, every season he sat out with injuries. But he never came back like he did that season. I think that broken foot was finally healthy. He showed us an ability that I haven't seen from – not that Quinshon's bad by any means, but the ability I didn't know Trey had, and I don't know very many backs have, is that they can create a lane at the point of attack. They can kind of hop around, jitterbug around, create a lane, then start working on the second level. And what I think – Trey's great ability is, I just made him sound like a scat back. He's plenty powerful enough.
Oh, yeah.
It's like calling Quinshon only a power back. Like, well, he's plenty fast enough too, right?
That's why the thunder and lightning thing between those two don't really work. They both.
It's because either one of
set.
them can run away from you, and either one of them can give you a concussion.
Yeah.
And now I'm more of a if he dies, he dies when it comes to running backs. Now I don't want to give him 30 carries for 15 games. But when a guy's as good as Trey, I think 6 carries is a war crime. I really do. Now against Purdue, and the thing is, it's not the first time he's carried the ball for like 90 yards off 6 carries.
Yeah, he's done a couple.
This is the third game Trey or Quinshon's not even averaged 3 yards a carry. If the blocking is there, Quinshon's as good as you're going to get, basically, or right there with anyone in the country. If the blocking's not there, I want Trey. He's going to create more, I feel like, at the point of attack. And I think, running backs that are really good have always gotten better with more carries to an extent. You can't crush them. But you don't say like, hey, let's keep Derrick Henry. Let's keep him fresh. They're like, no, let's kill some people with this bowling ball we got, Now you can't overdo it. And I don't mind. Now all I'm saying is, if Trey Henderson got 18 carries a game, you would see magical things happen in this run game. You'll never see it because they're just so dialed in. Coaches get so granular. You made the point one time that NFL GMs can be the absolute stupidest people in the world. They don't see what's right in front of them. Yeah. And I think these coaches get really granular sometimes. But this is just me nitpicking because the run game didn't look broken by any means. You know what I mean? It didn't look broken by any means. And you can do this stuff. I would like to see a game, though, like, I think a Penn State game favors Quinshon a little more. He had a really nice game last game. I don't think he's doing anything Trey can't do, but I think it's just a really nice change-up pitch for them to just bash into your line against. Now, so moving forward from that, Corey, good for both guys. Quinshon, it didn't show up in the stat sheet, but he played well. I think he played better than the stats say. 3 yards a carry, you're like, oh, man, that's not very good. I don't think he played that bad. He's not as much of a creator, and Trey just ripped some big ones. Corey, I don't know where most of the fan base – I've heard some really bad things.
Remember, though, we played with a lot of backups on the offensive line today, too, like a lot.
Well, that's been the season, right? That's been the
season.
I
mean, it has, but it's like our starting 5 with Hinsman now in the lineup. I mean, Hinsman got hurt and went out for the rest of the game. They weren't going to bring him back.
It's been an experiment. I don't know if we know who our starting 5 is. I don't.
I'm hoping I just see everybody's healthy.
A big mixture of fat white guys and a black dude most of the time. That's how I would categorize it. So, it's hard to tell how good they are again because Purdue is so dang bad, but they look fine today. But it is difficult to get, I think the Oregon game, neither running back had good run stats because they couldn't get a hole. So, Corey, next topic, Will Howard. How good is he? I came to the season saying he would be white JT Barrett. And then I've had games where I go, well, he's a little bit better than that, I think.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Where do you put him? Is he Joe Burrow? Is he better than Joe?
Yes.
Clearly. Some people think he's terrible. I still don't blame him for
I don't understand anybody thinking he's terrible. I mean, objectively speaking, let's start from a baseline. He is absolutely not terrible. Let's just stop being stupid there. If anybody thinks he's terrible, you need to stop watching football.
Right.
There's nothing terrible about him. Is he like God's gift to quarterbacks? No. There's some things he can't do. His accuracy is off a little bit at times. His deep ball, his timing is off on deep ball. He floats a little too much. He doesn't have an NFL arm by any stretch, but I think he is a better version of JT. He's every bit the leader I think JT is, but he's more talented than JT, a little bit faster with his decision making, maybe. But JT was a better scrambler. JT could scramble you off the field, but I think JT is definitely more athletic than Will Howard is. Will Howard is a little bit Cardale-ish. He doesn't move laterally extremely well.
Yeah.
But if Cardale got a head of steam, just get out of the way because he's going to truck you. I think Howard could truck people or whatever. I think they're asking him not to, clearly. But I think if like we're in a championship game, sliding it, you have to get that first down on 4th and 5. He can truck somebody and get it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I'd say he has he has a better throwing motion than JT. JT's big problem to me is he had to wind up, just to get it anywhere.
Or hop into it. Yeah.
Exactly. Whereas I don't necessarily think he's more accurate than JT. He's just got a
stronger arm, better in stride, but still not a down. Will's biggest downfall is, I think, that deep ball. As a matter of fact, I might take JT's deep ball, although Will can get it there like quicker.
Freshman year, JT's deep ball was not bad.
Yeah. And Will's is like, it's the worst part of his game by a considerable margin.
Easily.
Like, because the intermediate's fine. The decision making's pretty good. The scrambling's good. He gets sometimes a little clunkier to get. Like sometimes I'm like, well, you're faster than that. Yeah. And then other times he's like, oh, it's effective. If it's effective. One more thing for the defense to have to defend. I think he's kind of what we thought. I think he's actually a pinch more intermediate and short. He's more accurate than I even thought he would be. Yeah. But that's kind of where I have him. I think he's good enough. I think there are times the offense is limited because of his lack of a deep ball, or now and then he'll make a bad play that will keep it from just blowing games wide open. But he's also not like actively hurting the offense. You know what I mean? He's not pulling them down by any means. I think
he makes up for it. Yeah, he makes up for it in other areas. I mean, we know he's never his deep ball is what it is. It's not going to get better. So you just kind of have to live with it. Sometimes it'll work, sometimes it won't. I think what he does try to do with his deep ball, because he knows he can't throw a receiver in stride necessarily all the time. I know people are going to show me the Jeremiah Smith clip. Yeah, I've seen him hit somebody in stride one time.
Yeah.
So congratulations, the exception that proves the rule.
Right.
But I think what he tries to do is back shoulder it a little bit and put it in a spot almost to where only the receiver can get it.
Or float it and say, hey, use your body. Get there first.
I think he did that with Tate today. When Tate dropped the ball, he didn't end up keeping it. But, I mean, even though Tate had to hold up and turn around and adjust to the ball, I think that's just the best you're going to get out of Will Howard. So it's kind of up to Tate at that point to make the play. He put the ball placement was fine. It was only where Tate could get the ball. Didn't hang on to it. Okay, it happens. But that's just what you're going to have to live with. But he makes up for it in the horizontal game that Kip Kelly calls, and he makes good decisions in those aspects. So I mean, I like him. I think his leadership adds a lot, and it's something we haven't really seen. I think C.J. Stroud was a good leader, but for whatever reason, I feel like Will Howard's like the kind of leader we haven't quite had in a while.
Yeah, I would go along with that. I could see a situation where I think you can win with this talent. You can win a national championship with Will Howard. I could also see a game where it was like you end up playing for a national championship or the game before or whatever, and you're like, if Will had a little more talent, we would have won that game. Yeah. Not saying it's his fault, but I'm just saying like a little bit better. So that's why I think people aren't easy on it. I have no problem with the guy, really. There's things I wish he did better, but I don't have an issue. Like I said, I could see at the end of the game, championships are hard to win, man. Cam Ward, look how talented he is. They just lost the game today.
Going undefeated, it's going to be excruciatingly hard in today's college football.
It really is. Now, like I said, I could see there. You'll just see the Buckeye Twitter meltdown if Will plays somewhere in between how he played today and how he played at Penn State, and you lose a national championship game or something. It's like, well, he cost us a natty. And like, well, if he's as bad as you say, you're not there without him either.
Yeah, I know.
So, so
look, he's gonna have a bad game going. Look at from Indiana on, and I'm including the team up north. I don't care how bad they are. That's always a rivalry game. You just don't always know. They're gonna play Indiana, TTTUN, probably Oregon if they get to the Big Ten title game. Let's be real. And then Oregon's ranked number 1 in the country. Indiana will be a top 5-ish game if they win today. Then you got after Oregon, then you go into the playoff, and it's 3 top 10 teams, minimum, if you can get that far. So he's gonna have a game where you're like, okay, that's a Craig Krenzel Miami game, it's like
Right.
7-21 or whatever. But that being said, I think kind of like Krenzel, he'll make a play when you need it. He'll do something that lifts the team. Even like against Penn State, he had a couple horrible mistakes clearly, but at the end of the game when they needed that drive, he's up there pumping them up in the
yeah.
And
That's
he
kind
also
of
made a couple nice plays to finish the game.
Yeah, I do. And then you look at it, though, the efficiency is really nice, Corey. Again, today is another game where you're like, he didn't look like world beater. What was he, 21 for 26?
Yeah. Yep.
260 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 rushing. So really efficient game.
Yep. And no turnovers. I was getting sick of turnovers with him. The only thing was getting mad at him about is once a game you'd have a pick.
Yeah. Florida Corey is the Jack back. Jack Sawyer, Mitchell Melton, maybe some others. They lined up.
Kenyatta Jackson I saw standing up a little bit.
Okay. You think this is back, or do you think this is just more experimentation because it's Purdue?
It's definitely not back in the sense that we know who is the Jack. I mean, CJ Hicks played obviously a little bit of the Jack today. Missed a sack opportunity. He had a clear lane to the quarterback and just missed him. But it was very obvious that it seems like Jim Knowles, between the battle between him and Larry Johnson, Jim Knowles is winning right now. And what he wants to do with that D line. And as much as I love Larry Johnson, I'm sorry, one is the D coordinator. You kind of just have to get with the program. The guy's getting paid $2 million a year to get that defense in line. For what it's worth, defense played really well today, especially since they were subbing. Like they were going practice squad guys. Like, go ahead, play, whatever. They really held the line today and played pretty well. At most, they would have allowed 6 points. At most.
Yeah.
If the kicker could kick. But by the way, special shout out. Jay Fielding's like 7 of 8 now after all the crap we gave him against Nebraska. So I ain't gonna give him any more crap for now. But I
still want him 30 or inside.
I agree. I don't want him 50. But I will say this: it could be worse. We could have the Purdue kicker. It could be worse. That was bad. He had a chip shot from like the 20-yard line, far right. Like, oh my gosh. But anyway, sorry, I'll get back on topic. But they're standing different guys up, and they're playing them with they're out there hand in the dirt. I think it brings a lot of possibilities. I don't think they're necessarily moving around, but they're stunting them a little bit. They have them drop back every now and again. It's just you're able to do different looks right off the snap with that. I think you can confuse the quarterback more. And I think it's helping the defense, and it also helps when we do the delayed blitzes that we do.
Yes,
because you got to account for that guy, and it takes a couple seconds for you. But that being said, I think. I like what we're doing with the defense on that end. I think it's getting better, and I think we're finally manufacturing pressure. Again, Purdue's a tough gauge because it's Purdue and they're terrible. So I'm not going to pretend like, well, today proves it. We're elite. I mean, I think against Penn State, the defense played elite for sure. Yeah. This game, I think they were ho-hum and still had a great game.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. Like, I think this is a couple of my stances. If I'm Larry Johnson, and this is kind of Jim Knowles has been MO all season, but all of us scream, hey, this bites you against good teams. Jim Knowles nonchalantly gives 5 to 7 yard chunks up like it doesn't even bother him, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and he's just, we'll clamp down, we'll figure it out, or they'll make a mistake. They can't go 12 plays without making a mistake and getting them behind the chains. And until it's Oregon, then they score at will because you never, ever stiffened up. And this experimental 3-down lineman Jack look, man, Corey, sometimes it was cool, but sometimes Purdue just ran at will. You saw that second drive, they just ran at will. Nonchalant 5 yards, and what bothers me is I think Jim Knowles would do that against a really good team too.
Yeah.
Like he did in the first. Now I'll give him credit.
A really good team has running backs that can make bigger plays than Purdue's running backs,
or won't shoot themselves in the foot. It's like he's counting on you to beat yourself later in the drive sometimes. And the teams like Oregon, like, I won't, or I'll hit a big play, and these just move, and I'll just keep moving the chains and keep moving the chains. If you're not going to stop me from taking 5, I'm going to take 5, And that, you know, if I'm Larry Johnson, there's a few of those plays I go, look how easy it is in the Big Ten to get 5 yards against that. Look how easy it is, you know. But then again, is it just because it's Purdue and they're trying to get away? And Nick Saban basically called Larry Johnson a dinosaur, and Nick Saban's much old, you know, pretty sure he's like 10 years older. So I think Saban's in his 70s, right? Like upper 70s.
Larry, but
I thought Larry was like 68. My bad.
No, he's like 72. Yeah.
Oh. Well, is that one old guy calling the other guy old?
Yeah, well, and one guy has 7 titles, so I don't.
Saban can call you whatever he call me old if he wants to. I'm like, exactly. I guess you're right. You know,
he's like, man, I better get younger. I'm sorry, Nick. My bad.
I apologize, Nick, for my age. Talk to my parents about it. But is that maybe this is my theory? You see what you have a little bit with that look. You give Indiana a couple more things to practice for. Indiana has to now at least spend a little bit of time in practice. And maybe you show it 5 times in that India game max. But it just gave them 1 or 2 more things to waste an hour on in practice. You know what I mean? And I do. And then the other part is I think you say, well, does this get our creative juices flowing? Does it get freshmen in the game more? I did like that. I did like that they just found an excuse to get guys in. But again, it's the reps, you're not going to face a team this bad this late in the season often. This is about as bad as a Big Ten can be, opponent can be.
And Northwestern is not much better.
Yeah. All right, Corey, the Jack back, maybe not. Northwestern next week. Then we have the Indiana game. Yeah, where the Ohio Stadium crowd can only get excited when there's a bad call. Maybe somebody will get ejected for target. That's what I'd like. If I'm Ryan Day, I'm just telling the officials, look, in first quarter, eject somebody from targeting. I don't care. It's worth it to have the crowd. It's worth it to have the crowd taken out of the game.
It's not one of my good guys, please. You just keep it to a guy who's kind of a partial player.
Yeah. Also, I heard a rumor that Davison Igbinosun broke both his hands in the post-game celebration, and that he was going to have to play with like the clubs from now on.
Yeah, they got a club. Yeah,
they tried to get Jim Knowles to comment, and as he was putting a bloody hammer in his duffel bag, he said, "I have no comment." Like, so I don't know what that's about. He said Davison's tough. He's going to play. So.
Sounds like he was working on a new dance move.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Corey, you got anything else before we let the folks go?
Hey, it was a boring game, but like I said all the time, soak it up because when you watch it with loved ones and friends and everything, we only get so many Buckeye games, guys. We got a long wait.
It goes fast, a long wait. Goes fast, long wait. All right, guys, come back and see us next time. We'll talk a little bit about that game. And we are in the works with doing a rivalry show with Chat Sports' James Yoder about those cheaters up north, maybe making a little bit more of a regular segment leading up to the game. So come back and see us next time. Goodbye. God bless, and go Bucks.